I think you've got a really cool setup here.
I appreciate that,
I
man.
mean, the soundboard looks so fancy. I don't know what any of those buttons do, but I bet you do.
They got some of them. They got a couple of like
I show a hoe no love cause I know her.
that is one of our friends that we've had on here before. I'm not sure. I can't remember why. Oh, they made that because they wanted to play an intro into the video, and it was one of his songs. And this was how we played the intro. And then they have a. There we go. That's a clapping one.
That's cool.
But welcome back, everyone. Long time. It's been a while, man, but we're back. This is the conference. I'm Johnny G, and today my host is not host, but my guest is Ryan Grant.
Yep.
Is that how you say it?
Yep, that's exactly right.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I seen your name, dude. In all honesty, I've never met anyone with that last name before.
I know. The last name is French, and I have never met anyone with my same last name. I've heard of other people who know folks who live kind of around the Deer Park area that have that last name, but I've never met any of them. So
Oh, really?
it's unique, yeah.
So where did you grow up?
I grew up in Pearland, well, kind of a mix of areas. So my parents split up whenever I was 1, and my mom and my stepdad got together when I was 2, and then my dad and my stepmom got together when I was 2. So I've always kind of grown up with 2 sets of parents.
Okay.
So I primarily grew up in Pearland area, but my dad lived in Pasadena, and a lot of my dad's side of the family in Pasadena. And so I would pop around between both areas, and then my aunt lived up in the Woodlands.
Okay.
And so I kind of grew up all over the place.
So are you pretty familiar with like the LaPorte, Pasadena, Deer Park area?
Yeah.
They're all like very close together, you know?
They're pretty much all the same.
Yeah, dude, me and my family, me and my cousin talk about it all the time. It's like, bro, it's kind of crazy how close they are to one another, you know?
Yeah.
But man, to get started with today, dude, I appreciate you coming. I appreciate your time, honestly. You're here today because Lorenzo, I remember telling me to reach out to you a while back, and unfortunately I never got to do that, but luckily now we're here, and I can't wait to pick your brain, man. So one of the things I will say is, to start it out, is I will say that, so obviously I've known Lorenzo my whole life, well, just about, but I remember at one point like talking to Lorenzo, and then when he had mentioned like about bringing you on the pod and talking to you and picking your brain and stuff, for whatever reason, I remember after he like brought you up, I just remember seeing like a change in him, and a very like positive change. Like he's more like he's like trained his brain in a way to look at like more positive like perspectives on things. And he was telling me that that's not a natural way to think, and I 100% agree with him, man, because you know, going through life, and I'm sure you understand like everyone else does how tough life can be sometimes, and how we can all just get in our own heads. But man, it's like when I've talked to him about certain things, he really like it's almost like he really understands like what I'm going through and how to kind of like shift my mindset and how to like get me out of like the hole that I'm in. And I guess what I'm saying with that, man, is it seems like he's become a much more positive person since talking to you. And like what exactly is it that caused you to, I guess, like be the way that you are? Because I've looked at your Instagram and stuff and seen a bunch of different things, and it seems like you have a very like positive like mindset on a lot of things. Like, was there a certain experience in your life that caused you to be this way? Were you also in a hole one time in your life and you couldn't get out? Like, what exactly was it?
Yeah, that's a really good question. First, I want to go back and touch on Lorenzo. Lorenzo and I came in each other's lives at just the perfect time. It was like perfect timing. I had just decided I'm going to take being a life coach and a spiritual leader very seriously.
Was it because of him or?
No, not necessarily. It was just a lot of things, but I decided I'm going to take it really seriously. And Lorenzo and I, we both are in real estate.
Yeah.
And that's how we got to know each other, through a mutual friend. And He was 20 years old when I met him and very impressionable.
Very.
And I could tell that he was very intelligent and just kind of, you know, I could tell that he sort of needed a little bit of finding himself, finding his own groove and that sort of thing. And so I hit him up. I slid in his DMs one day and I'm like, hey, dude, we should chill and hang out and chit chat. And so he's like, yeah, I'm down. You know, Lorenzo's like me in that he is open to have any conversation with anyone.
He loves definitely meeting people. I would agree with that.
Yeah. And so he came over to my house and we nerded out on mindset, law of attraction, manifestation, the power of visualization, all of these things. And it was so cool for me because this is my normal conversation. Like I talk about these things all the time. And my group of friends that I'm so close to, they're used to hearing it. Yeah. And so they're like, oh, here goes Ryan on his positive stuff. And so Lorenzo, though, was like taking notes. Like he was thinking, I want to take what Ryan is saying and harness it and dive in deeper. And he challenged me. I mean, there were so many times that I would, you know, name a certain method of meditation or a way of thinking or even challenge a perspective in a certain way. And he would challenge me back and be like, well, you're saying this, but what if this, and that? And I like that. That's an engaging conversation.
100%.
Like I don't claim to have all the answers to everything. And so often the student teaches the teacher. Okay. And so I love that relationship that he and I have, and that it's not me bestowing all my knowledge on to Lorenzo. It's us learning and growing together. There's so many things that Lorenzo has part of his soul, the essence of who he is, that I've taken in and been like, oh man, I could probably borrow some of that from him too.
Absolutely.
And so, I'm forever grateful for the friendship that I've got with Lorenzo and for him connecting the two of us.
Yeah. Yeah, just like you said, man, he's definitely a different human being, man. And growing up with him, man, that's something that I kind of always realized, and I guess I never really paid attention to much of it until it was like, I think maybe recently, where I'm like, man, like I'm just thinking back on it. It's like everything Lorenzo said he was like going to do, he's like for the most part done it, or at least attempted to do it and tried everything he can, and exhausted all his resources into doing exactly what it was he wanted to. And if it didn't work out, then it didn't work out. But like, I remember him going to college at one point, and then he was going to college, and I think at one point he was like, no, it's just not for me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I just thought that was crazy because Lorenzo was always like a very smart person, you know? Not to say that he's not because he didn't go to college, but I just could always see him finishing college.
Right.
And in all honesty, him not finishing college is probably the best thing that ever happened to him, because I'd like to believe he's very successful in the area of expertise that he's in now. And yeah, so like you were saying about
what was your question? Sorry, I had to touch and give some gratitude.
No, you're good. I love it. Give all the flowers you can while you're here, right?
Yeah.
What the experience, like was there a certain experience that caused you to be able to like be the way that you are in terms of having that positive mindset?
Yeah, it's happened in stages. So whenever I was about 19 or 20, I went through what I call a spiritual enlightenment period.
Okay.
It was something that just kind of happened to me. I wasn't, at least to my knowledge, I wasn't out searching for it. Although I was kind of in a period of my life, as I think most people are out of high school, where you're kind of finding yourself and who is your group of friends and what do I like and what do I not like and all of these things. And so I started having all of these, I'm going to get deep with you.
Go ahead.
So I started having all of these very vivid psychic experiences. I could see things before they happened. I was having all these premonitions. I would have dreams and then wake up, and literally my day would go about exactly like the dream that I had last night. Oh. And just all of these crazy experiences. And to be very honest with you, it sounds cool and neat now, but at the time, I was kind of having a hard time with it. I didn't understand what was happening to me.
Was it scary?
it was scary. I didn't know if I was going crazy, you know, like I started to be able to, like, for lack of better words, read people's minds, read their energy without knowing what was going on. And so in my mind, I thought to myself, maybe this is what happens with like schizophrenic people before they go full on schizophrenic.
Yeah.
Like, I was seriously thinking that there could be something wrong with me.
Wow.
So I went to a doctor, and like my doctor that I had been going to since I was a kid, explained to him what was going on. He straight up said, like, this is not my area of expertise. I will tell you that there's probably nothing wrong with you, but you should dive into this and you should learn more about it. And so, bless him for saying that, because that gave me permission to be a little weird.
Yeah.
Like, before then, I thought, there's no way that I'm having psychic experiences. Like, who even is a psychic? I think of like Miss Cleo or someone with a neon sign and a deck of cards.
Yeah,
you
right?
know?
Yeah, exactly.
And so, you know, that gave me permission to be a little weird. And I started to look for mentors. I was picking up books. Started reading books and just diving into all of this sort of metaphysical world. And I had a coworker who was aware of what I was experiencing. His name's Key. And he said, have you ever seen the documentary called The Secret? And I said, no, I think I've heard of it. He said, you need to watch The Secret. And so a week went on, 2 weeks went on, 3 weeks went on. And he says, Ryan, did you watch The Secret? And I said, no. And he said, you got to watch The Secret. So I said, okay.
Was it something that you had said to get him to like I guess like repeat it to you? Or did he just genuinely want you to watch it, I guess, because it was going to be beneficial towards you?
He knew it was going to be beneficial toward me. And he was not really like, I don't know. He wasn't really big into self-development or anything like that. But
Okay.
I guess he had seen it before, and there was something on his heart telling me that I needed to watch it. And so, anyway, I had this one bad day, and he told me, Ryan, you got to watch The Secret. So I went home, I pulled up, I think it was on Netflix, or I don't know where I watched it at the time, and I watched The Secret. And whenever I saw it, it made things make sense to me. There were so many things in my world that I had been attracting, and that whether desirable or non-desirable, I was attracting these things. And I finally felt like I have a grasp on how some of this works. So after I watched that, it was like the catalyst that opened me up to personal development, to energy, to all of these things. I then met a professional psychic medium who has become my mentor. We've been very good friends ever since. I actually just took a trip out to New Mexico to go visit with him for a week.
Oh, nice. Is that where he stays?
Yeah, he lives out there.
Okay.
He's from Houston, but he's now moved over to Santa Fe, New Mexico. It's a very spiritual land over there. It's really cool.
Wow, man, that sounds beautiful.
Oh my gosh, there's like crystals in the ground and stuff. It's
Holy
really cool.
shit, dude.
Yeah, it's super cool. So anyway, met him. He helped me understand a lot about energy, how we create and change energy and all of these things. And then, you know, it's just sort of compounded from there. I've stayed on the topic. I listen to podcasts every day about how to improve ourselves. I have taken up coaching, doing life coaching for folks. I've become a master practitioner of neuro-linguistic programming and all of these things. And so,
Master practitioner of hypnotherapy.
and hypnotherapy. Yep.
And mental and emotional release.
That's right.
I've seen those things, and like I seen like on that same post, man, you were talking about how like you just wanted to. Sorry to cut you off.
No, you're
but
right.
I seen the master practitioner of hypnotherapy. You said, what exactly is that?
Well, you know, hypnotherapy, a lot of people think of it like hypnosis, as in like I'm putting you out and like making you go to sleep and doing things to your mind or whatever. And it's important for people to know that hypnotherapy and even coaching in general is a do with process. It's not a do to process. And so,
Can you explain what you mean by that?
yeah. So, for instance, I have a gal that just reached out to me earlier this week, and she told me that her son's younger and is having some problems with wanting to run away and maybe even some drug issues and things like that. And she said, I want you to fix him. I want you to work with him and fix him. And I had to let her know, like, he has to want to be fixed. I can't zap him and make him better. I come in and help out when someone has a desire to make themselves better or to live the truest, fullest version of themselves and needs a little guidance on how to do that. And I told her, if you want to have your son call me and ask for help in these things and he truly wants the help, I'd be happy to, but I can't do it to him. You know?
You would want to essentially be wasting your time, and two, if he's not, if he's not wanting to be there and do it, like, it's not going to even work.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
So you were asking, what is hypnotherapy? Or hypnosis is basically just a modality. It's a way to relax your conscious mind so that you can tap into our unconscious mind, which is really what has all of the answers. Our unconscious mind knows everything. And I mean, one of the prime directives of the unconscious mind is to keep our physical bodies healthy. So often people find themselves in disease and having all of these health issues and challenges, and then they wonder, like, what did I do to get here? How do I fix myself? And they're so busy looking externally, what can I do out here to fix myself? And they're never taking a moment to look inside and think, where did I flip a switch that caused this to happen? And so a lot of what I do when I'm working with clients is help them dive inward and figure out, where did we switch something, or where is there maybe a limiting belief or an old trauma, or as I call it, baggage that is in our world that's preventing us from getting where we want to be.
Have you ever been, like, personally, have you ever been met with that resistance in terms, because I like to think that, like, you know what I'm saying, if you've, I guess you could say, mastered all these things that you got certificates for. Is it certificate? Is that what it is? Okay, yeah. I like to think that you'd be able to, like, read a person in terms of, like, all right, well, I don't necessarily want them to react a certain way if I ask them about this, but have you ever been met with, like, resistance whenever you've, I guess, tried to help someone? Or is it something that you, like you said, they got to be willing to do? You don't ever just kind of go out there and, like, extend yourself?
Yeah. Have I been met with resistance? Plenty of times. So early in my journey of helping others in this way, when I became aware of how we shape our lives, how our words shape our reality, how our mindset creates the world that we live in. When I became aware of this, I wanted to save everybody.
How old were you?
I was about 21, 22.
Wow.
And I wanted to save everyone. I wanted everyone to know, you don't have to think this way. Think about it like this.
Yeah.
Why are you doing this to yourself? I would look at folks and just think to myself, you're so much more than you're giving yourself credit for.
Would it aggravate you?
It did, but, you know, I wanted to fix them, and I just wanted them to see what I see in you.
Yeah.
And not everyone is open and ready for that. Not everyone is in the chapter of their life where they're ready for that lesson. We have to experience life. We have to go through these challenging times because that teaches us what we like and what we don't like. We have to go through those challenges because that's what builds our character, that's what makes us stronger, and that's what equips us with the tools that we need to help the next person down the line.
Dude, honestly, everything you just said right there is, I can 1000% like attest to, because like I told you before we even started this, man, the mindset that I was in, like, let's just say, like, even a month ago, it was not good, you know, and then realizing that I needed like you said, I was looking for more things like externally, you know, like just things that were outside of what can I use to help me, like whatever the case may be. And I wasn't really like taking too much like wasn't really diving into myself and like really trying to understand certain things. And I always thought I was trying, but I wasn't, you know? And I think a lot of the times I was just feeling like sorry for myself. And I kind of just realized it was like, man, you just kind of just gotta deal with it. Like no one's gonna help me out of this situation besides myself. Like even my girlfriend, like, and as much as she loves me and stuff, it's just like, there was no one that could truly help me besides myself. And I had to learn how to be patient with myself, and I had to learn to understand that, like, don't get so hard on myself for making certain mistakes. Like, at the end of the day, it's not like it's a life-threatening mistake. It's not like it's going to cause any kind of, like, bodily harm to me. It's just, like, you have to learn from these mistakes that you make, you know, not just kind of, like, live. And I think for a while that's, in a way, what I was doing. And I just think it had a lot to do with the environment around me and me not being able to, like, fully understand it and kind of like flip that perspective, you know, because it was such a really negative perspective, man. And being around Lorenzo helped a lot. And I told him, like, honestly, I need more people like you in my life, like around me all the time, like, because that kind of like positive like energy, man, is something I need. He's always been very encouraging and always like, he's always told me things about myself that I've known about myself, but I don't ever necessarily hear that from a lot of different people. Like I hear it from my girlfriend sometimes, but sometimes I don't know why. Sometimes I think about it and I'm like, my girlfriend loves me, right? She's going to tell me these things, but I don't hear this enough from other people sometimes. And like when he would tell me certain things that I know about myself, it was just like, man, like, you know, like I'm exactly what I believe I am. I just get so hard on myself about things and stuff. And yeah, it was rough, man. But in all honesty, dude, like I said, I've been looking forward to this for a very long time, and just being able to flip that mindset, man, is honestly a very life-changing thing. Like I'm in honestly pretty much the same exact position I was in a month ago. The only difference is my mentality and how I looked at certain things. That's the only thing that changed. And in all honesty, it feels so much better, dude. It feels like how it felt after we started that, after we finished that, what was it called?
Oh, the Ho'oponopono.
Yeah, like in all honesty, like having that different perspective, dude, felt like that, man. And it was honestly very just like a weight off my shoulders in a way, because I was giving a lot of energy to people that I wouldn't say necessarily deserved it, but like there's people out there in the fucking world that maybe you work with or maybe even your friends who I guess like maybe talk down on you or put you down or talk to you a certain way in a condescending tone. And I would let that bother me, right? And I would just like let it eat away at me and stuff. And I just stopped giving that any kind of power, dude. Like, and I think I seen on one of your Instagrams, like whatever someone thinks of you has nothing to do with you.
Oh, it's none of your business.
It's none of your business, exactly.
What someone else thinks of you is none of your business.
And I remember, do you know who Deion Sanders is by any chance?
Oh, that name sounds so familiar.
He's a former professional football player. And he at one point said that I don't, and this quote has always stuck with me, dude, because he's absolutely right. He's like, I don't care what another person has to say about me because their opinion about me is not the opinion I have of myself. So it doesn't matter what they think at all. And when I heard that, I referred that to what you were saying about it's none of your business, like what they believe. And it's very powerful stuff, man, whenever you're actually able to like apply it to your life and do it the way I believe that because like you said, not everyone's ready for it. Like what, for 20, I guess you could say like 26 years that I've been alive, in a way I wasn't necessarily ready to have that moment with myself, but I just got tired of the way I was living, and it was in a way pretty miserable to where I was like, man, I can't keep doing this because I'm like killing myself, like metaphorically, but it's just like I'm just draining myself with all this energy I have and all the life I feel like I used to have in me, I didn't have in me anymore.
Let me share with you that it is so important that you love yourself where you are now for who you are right now. You have everything you need right now to be who you want to be going forward. And if we are in a place of, gosh, I need to be better, I should be better at doing this, or I didn't do that, or whatever, but tomorrow's going to be even better, we're continuing to create that perpetual idea that we need to be better, we need to be better, we need to be better. That's not to say that we shouldn't aim to continue to grow, but we've got to love who we are now. Like, wins, lessons, and all. If you appreciate and love who you are right now, the journey that you took to get here, the people that you have around you that taught you the lessons that you need, whether that lesson is, I want to be more like this, or I know I don't want to be like that, you've got to appreciate and love who you are for where you are right now, because that's the fertile soil that you grow from. Now, from there, you still have to plant a seed. You still have to water it. You still have to give it sunshine. But that seed isn't going to grow if your soil is infertile. So the loving and appreciating who you are right now and the journey that it took to get to where you are, you have to love every piece of it.
I mean, you put it in a really good, you honestly put it in really good words, dude, when you're saying that you need to appreciate the, like how far you've come. Like, yeah. In all honesty, dude, like I don't think people do that enough. Mm-hmm. And like myself included, because I mean, everyone's life is different. Like another part of the reason why I was even in that space to begin with was because I was comparing myself to my peers and a lot of the people around me, and just measuring my success, my own definition of success based on what their success was. And that's not good for anyone. Yeah.
Comparison is the thief of all joy.
There you go. Yeah. That's a very good quote. That 100% is facts. And, yeah, it was just draining me, dude, for a long time. And I just kind of realized, like, man, I was pushing myself away from people that I've cared about my whole life. And it wasn't necessarily anything they were doing to me. It was like it was my own doing. And, you know, like friend functions and, you know, parties and stuff that I would love to be at because all the people that I care about are there, but I don't want to go because it's like, I'm not in a place where this is how I thought, right? Mm-hmm. I'm not in a place where I'm very happy about like what it is that I have in my 26 years of living. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't feel like I have a lot to show for it. That's how bad of a place I was in. I have 5 dogs. I have a girlfriend. Everyone in my family is relatively healthy. I have a home. I have a car. I have a job. I have all these things that are very positive that I, in a way, it's just like it was ungrateful in a way, you know, to not just kind of like you said, like stop and like smell the flowers and just look how far I've come. Like compared to like 4 years ago, like I was living with, we're in 2024 now. In 2021, I was like staying with my sister at one point. Mm-hmm. And not necessarily that it was a low time for me, but I didn't want to like stay with my sister. So It was kind of like, man, like I need to get out of this position I'm in. And I don't ever stop and think about like moments like that. Like, you know what I mean? Like you said, like how far I've come. Like I have my own place now. And it's like, even though you don't feel like you're necessarily doing anything, like just look at how far you've come. You can't sit there and say that you haven't done anything. Mm-hmm. I've accomplished a lot, and I'm not giving myself enough credit. Mm-hmm. And one, it's just it all had to do with my environment and like you said, me. Like I said, me comparing myself to other people. Mm-hmm. But another thing I wanted to talk about, man, was so you said you spoke on the law of attraction earlier. Mm-hmm. Have you ever, like, I'd imagine you read some on that, right? So I had a friend that I was just talking to recently, just random thought. My friend, his name's Carlos. Really, really cool dude, man. Love that guy. He's awesome. Very smart guy. He was saying that because I was like, do you believe that it's real? And he was like, there's a chance that it's very real. And it plays a part outside of our direct actions. And I didn't necessarily I have an idea of what he means by that, but not really. Mm-hmm. But from what I've heard about the law of attraction, it's like every reaction's got a reaction, mm-hmm. or every action's got a reaction. Mm-hmm. Are you able to dive a little bit deeper into that?
Mm-hmm. Gosh. So is the law of attraction real would be similar to saying, like, do you believe in gravity? You know, it's a law of the universe, and it's
Yeah.
been scientifically proven. So whether you believe it to be true or not, gravity is real. If you, and this is actually even like an example.
You hear that, Matt? You hear that?
This
My
is-
brother doesn't. Go ahead. It's hilarious.
This is even an example that they used in The Secret, and I reference it often. I believe it was Bob Proctor that said it. The late Bob Proctor, such a cool guy. But anyway, he says, whether you believe gravity to be true or not, if you step off the edge of a 5-story building, whether you believe in gravity or not, you're going to hit the ground.
Yeah.
Like, you can say all day long, I don't believe in gravity, it's not real, you're still going to hit the ground.
Yeah.
The law of attraction is the same way. The law of attraction works on energetic principles. What you believe, what you say, and what you do creates a reaction in the universe that pulls that right back to you, whether you believe it to be true or not.
That's insane to
It
think about, dude.
happens for everyone.
Yeah.
Everyone. And so that's why they say, like, words are powerful, because they are. There's an energetic attachment with words that we say.
There's like an energetic, like law attached to these words is what you're
Yeah,
saying.
I mean, even if you look at like scientific studies, there was a study done, gosh, it was years ago, with rice, and some
Rice
people,
University?
no, with like actual rice.
Oh,
that
okay.
you eat. Although I think that this was done by Harvard, but and some people have seen it be talked about with plants and things like that. But anyway, there was someone who really wanted to test this theory of how powerful are the words that we use. So they took rice, they took 3 different cups of rice, cooked rice, and one of them, every single day for 8 weeks, they went up to the rice and they said really nasty things to it. You're ugly, you're disgusting, no one likes you, you know, you're moldy, just all of these nasty things. Went over to the next room, spoke to the next cup of rice, said all of these wonderful things. You are so nutrient. We love you. You are here to improve people's lives, to provide all of these things. The third one, they didn't do anything to it. It was just kind of like, what is it called?
Stagnant?
No, you can tell I'm not a scientist. It was
I'm trying to help you here, but I have no idea.
anyway, it was the one they didn't do anything
Yeah,
to.
they didn't touch it.
Yeah. So anyway, after 8 weeks, they compare all 3 cups of rice. The one that they said all the negative things to was black, and it smelled really bad, and it was moldy and disgusting. The second one that they said all of the nice things to had actually fermented into, you know, rice turns into liquor. So it
Yeah.
had fermented it. It even had like this nice floral scent to it. The third one that they didn't do anything to, it just kind of, it didn't decay, it didn't grow, it just sat there. And they've done the same sort of study over and over on different things. On plants, you can see how some plants thrive versus die, depending on the music that you play in their greenhouse or whatever.
Wow.
Anyway, it's interesting to see the science behind
The law of attraction?
this energy.
Yeah.
I mean, it's all energy. And and so whenever we put something out into the world, whether it is a belief or something we say, we always draw it back to us. Always, always. And some things might take more time than others,
Yeah.
but we always bring it back to us.
Man, that's interesting.
If you have a belief that, and you know, one of my pet peeves, I respect everyone's world, but one of my pet peeves is when people say, I have bad luck. Bad things just always happen to me. I have a friend, I won't say his name, it starts with a D, and
He's like, yeah, Devin. No. Is that right?
he's always talking about how he's got bad luck. And I tell him, like, That's so dumb. Stop saying that. You're creating that for yourself. But for years and years, I've seen it play out time and time again. Always having car issues, always having trouble with, positions at work or the way that his family respects him and all of these things. And I tell him, like, do you want to just try believing that you have good luck? Do you want to just try it and see? And so,
Because what would it hurt,
right. And so, sure enough, one day he's like, all right, Ryan, you know what? I'm going to play your game. I'm going to do it your way. And before you know it, he gets a promotion at work. He saves up enough money to get a new car that doesn't have any issues. Because he's doing so well at work and he's handling his finances, his family starts to respect him more. It truly, it's just crazy. It's crazy how
powerful the words are.
It is.
And honestly, that's another thing Lorenzo was telling me about, man. He is one day I went over there and we were just talking for a long time before he moved into his own place. I went over to his pop's house, and me and him were just talking and stuff and chopping it up. We hadn't seen each other in a while, and I was talking to him about myself, and he was like, why are you talking about yourself like that? And then he was like, my friend told me one time, he was like, it caught me off guard, but he was like, hey, don't talk about my friend like that. And I started laughing, dude. And he was like, don't talk about my cousin like that. And I started laughing. And I was like, what are you talking about? And he was like, when you talk about yourself a certain way, and this just applies to any one of y'all out there, when you talk to yourself, to yourself and about yourself a certain way, you kind of like you said, in a way, like bring that energy with it. Mm-hmm. And it kind of just like, it's like a mark in a way, Mm-hmm. And it's not like necessarily like you can't change from any of those things, but like you're setting yourself up for a very, if they're not any good words, like they're negative words, or like, I'm a bad person because I did this, or whatever the case may be. Like you're putting that into your own head, mm-hmm. Like subconsciously, without even realizing it. Right. Just because you're speaking it in that one moment, like it still like lingers, mm-hmm. And that's what he was getting at with me. And like as I'm talking about myself, he's literally like, I'm like, man, I'm just like fucking up. He was like, you were fucking up. Like you're not fucking up no more, because. Like he's like, even you having this conversation with me right now, he was like, it shows me that you're self-aware, mm-hmm. And since you're self-aware, you're able to change some things and fix them and stuff like that. He's like, it's not like who you are permanently. You just, like, we're all humans, man. We make mistakes and stuff, and yeah, just words are very powerful, dude. Mm-hmm. I would 100% agree with that.
And it's not enough to just stop saying bad things about yourself. You can stop saying bad things about yourself, but that's not really going to create a big change in your world. Mm-hmm. You've got to fill in with good things. That is kind of like, I've got so many folks that come to me and they say, I just have this negative mindset and I want to stop thinking negatively. And I try to meditate and I try to take the negative thoughts out of my mind, but they just keep showing up. Well, do you realize that by saying that is similar to me saying, I walk into this dark room and I can't take the darkness out?
You talking about in terms of like when they're saying they're trying?
Just whenever folks want to take negativity out, mm-hmm. they say, I want to stop being negative. Well, you can't stop being negative. You can start being positive, but you can't just stop being negative. So let's use this analogy. Let's say that you walk into a dark room. There's not a single light in there. And you walk in and you're like, God, I can't see anything in here. I need to take the darkness out. Well, you can't take the darkness out of that room. But what you can do is add light. Mm-hmm. And when you add light, as a result, there's less darkness.
Yeah.
And so me saying I want to take the negativity out of my mind, or I want to stop thinking negatively, would be like me walking to the room saying I want to take the darkness out of here. Well, if you want to stop thinking negatively, then start filling your mind with positive things. Start reading, start surrounding yourself with people who think the way that you want to think.
Healthy habits.
Yeah, healthy habits. Birds of a feather flock together. And so if you find that you are around four of your closest friends are all negative and in a place in life that you don't want to be, you have to evaluate that and think, am I filling my room with darkness or am I filling my room with light?
Do you feel that it's, I'm not sure if you've ever had this experience before, but do you feel that it's necessary to cut certain friends, like, in a way, out of your life because of the certain perspectives that they have, and maybe just like some of the qualities that you see? Because I mean, there's times where I've wanted to do this, and necessarily haven't, because those people mean so much to me, and I can't just, like, in a way, I feel like I'm just giving up on them. And to me, that's not like a part of like my character and who I am. Like all the people that I have in my life and that I love, like I want to see them do just as good as like I'm doing, if not better. So, like how, like, what's your take on that?
Yeah, you know, the term that you said, cut people out of your life, I'm not big on like cutting people out of my life. That sounds like severe and like we're never going to talk again.
Yeah.
But I will absolutely
Distance.
reallocate my energy into other places.
Okay.
You know, I'm not one to burn bridges with anybody. Like, I genuinely, truly love everyone, even the people who have caused me pain. I love everyone. And that's not to say that I have to continue inviting them to my dinner table. I can love them from afar.
Yeah.
But sometimes, you know, my dinner table's only got 6 chairs.
Yeah.
And all 6 are taken.
Yeah. So that reminds me, dude. I'm gonna butcher it if I try to say it, but in that meditation that we did prior to being on here, what's it called?
Ho'oponopono.
Ho'oponopono. Okay, so during that Ho'oponopono, it talked about the people in your life that I guess that you needed to forgive. And 3 people came to mind, like instantly. You know what I mean?
Yep. That's from your unconscious mind.
Yeah, and that's fucking wild. Like that's your subconscious, no?
Yeah, they're the same.
Okay.
Interchangeable.
That is it was truly wild, dude, that happened. And in all honesty, I found it very hard to forgive people in my life that have caused me pain. And some of them are some of the closest people to me. But isn't necessarily close to me, and I don't consider me. So to me, man, it's hard for me to forgive, because it's such a consistent thing, like to where it's like in a very condescending tone talking to me and making me feel a certain way. And how I react to that now is I'm just like, this person's gonna have their thought or whatever the case may be, and that's fine. I'm not gonna let it affect me. I'm not gonna let it rule over my day and just sit there and like just control me. Like I'm not gonna do that. So that's how I kind of deal with that. But I don't necessarily like. It was very hard for me to like think in my mind during that Pono where I had to tell that person I forgave them.
I forgive you. Please forgive me too.
Yeah, I had to tell that person that in my head, and that was very hard for me to do that. But I guess I found out more like.
But did you do it?
Yes.
And did it make you feel any different?
Yes.
How so?
It made me feel like I was tapping more into like who I always felt like I truly am. And I've never been a person to have like a hating bone in their body. I was never raised that way. I never liked that kind of energy, to be honest with you. It's just, it carries a lot of weight to that. And I honestly believe truly, even in that little aspect of my life, like not liking someone or just hating someone because of the way they are sometimes, like I think that's enough to cloud my judgment and cloud my perspective on certain things, to be honest. Like you said, it's not maybe such a big thing, but I think that it's like a snowball effect. You know what I'm saying? Like that's where it starts, and then it just gradually gets bigger and bigger and bigger.
Right. Yeah.
But that was very powerful. Yeah.
I used to feel the same way about forgiveness. I felt like if there was someone who truly did me wrong, and there weren't many people when I first really like honed in on forgiveness and this concept of like forgiving others and asking for their forgiveness to you. Even, you know, when I went into it, I thought there's no way that I'm going to forgive some of these people.
They don't deserve
because
it.
They don't deserve it.
Exactly.
And I'm not going to ask them for forgiveness because I don't feel like I've done anything wrong.
Yeah.
That was kind of the mindset that I had before. I realized that forgiveness is for you. It's not for them. Forgiveness is for you to feel pono. Pono is like whole, complete. Forgiveness is for you. So remember, what they think of you is none of your business. You don't even have to physically go and forgive that person. It's all energetic. The other thing is, I realized that everyone has their own model of the world. You and I are sitting in the same room, at the same place, having the same conversations, but we each have two totally different models of the world going on in our head. You have your set of beliefs and memories and experiences and lessons and traumas, and I have all of the same.
Yeah.
And so what's crazy is even though we're in the same place at the same time having the same conversations, we're getting two different things out of the same conversation.
Yeah.
And that is because we each have our own model of the world. When I realized this, I had to stop taking things so personal. When someone was getting upset with me because maybe I didn't show up in a way that they expected me to or whatever, I had to realize it's not me, it's them. They've got something going on in the world that I'm not even aware of.
Yeah.
And they're projecting whatever that is in my direction. Who am I to take it personal when I don't even know why they're mad? You know?
Yeah.
I can hear the words that they're saying, but based on what I'm feeling, that energy doesn't match up with what we're talking about.
Yeah.
You know? And so it became so much easier for me to walk away from those conversations, not take things so personal, and to give forgiveness. I forgive you for dumping your shit on me. Please forgive me for maybe being that person that you needed to dump on.
Yeah.
It's just the release of that energy between the two of us.
I think it's hard for me to wrap my head around this thought that there is people like this in this world, but someone was telling me one time, like I spoke to them about a certain experience, and they're like, and just like the way, like there's this condescending tone in the way I was being talked to, and they're like, honestly, they're probably jealous. And I never even thought of that because I'm just like why? You know what I mean? Like, why would they be jealous? In all honesty, like I don't, there's some times where I don't necessarily feel like I'm a cool person, but the more I've done some self-reflecting, I do genuinely believe I'm a pretty cool person to be around, and I would like to believe that. But they had told me like they're probably just jealous. They're probably just intimidated like by your confidence. Mm-hmm. And I just really can't wrap my head around something like that, like someone being that kind of like just that way, because to me I can't even imagine myself like being that way. And it's kind of like how you spoke, just your model of the world and your traumas and how you are like just growing, like just from a young age, right? And all the way up until you're 30, 40, 50 years old, like you have this idea in your head. And if you've never gotten the knowledge or the conversations that we had right here, then these people in a way are kind of like just stuck like that. Mm-hmm. And that's in a way all they know how to do. And they just feel like they need to be like, I don't know. Like they just feel like they need to be right all the time. And like when you spoke about like walking away from the conversation, did you mean like physically walking away from the conversation, or did you mean like metaphorically, I guess?
I think metaphorically. I typically let people finish their thoughts.
Even if they're talking to you in a bad way?
Yeah. Well, people don't usually talk to me in a bad way. I mean, I guess that's not to say that I've never been talked to in a bad way, but I've certainly been met with resistance with people who challenge my beliefs and things like that.
They take them so personal, don't they?
Yeah, but I mean, that's okay with me. In most cases, I show up curious. And if you are challenging something that I believe or sort of the way that I see the world, I don't want you to just tell me that I'm wrong. Yeah. I want you to tell me you're right. I want you to passionately pour out what you believe to me.
Yeah.
Because you're not right or wrong, and I'm not right or wrong.
Exactly.
Just like you're not right or wrong.
Exactly.
We're all living our own model of the world.
Yeah.
And we're coexisting, and there's a perfectly clean way of doing it.
Absolutely. I agree with that. So another thing I did, well, I guess to actually finish that, during that time of meditation, when I did forgive the, I just I would say that I could see things not changing. I mean, understand I did it in my head. It was a form of meditation, but I could see things not changing and me still being like, because I've had these moments before where this will come up to me and like, just because of how I feel, anxiety would kind of just start to spike. And I'm like on defense mode. Like, I'm just like ready, like, you know what I mean? I'm not even really stuff like that. And sometimes it wasn't even necessarily a bad thing, but just because that's how those experiences have been in the past, I'm like ready for something to be bad. And that was a very tough way to like handle those conversations for a while, man, because it caused me to use like very poor judgment. And I was just like, that's something I was still learning, you know what I mean? It's something I was still like growing with and stuff like that. And I feel like I've gotten much better with it now, to the point to where I have those conversations and I'm just completely calm, just not even letting my mind take me anywhere else, and like more be present in terms of like, what exactly are you telling me right now? What exactly are we talking about? And it's helped the conversation so much to where I can is already agitated and they're talking to me like I'll respond with something and they'll repeat it back to me, but they'll be like what? Or like just with some kind of attitude, you know? And it doesn't even faze me, because I'm in that state where I'm just like, it's not affecting me, you know what I mean? And yeah, that's something that I learned.
Next time that happens, just dive in. If they have that sort of sarcastic, like, what? Just be like, I can tell this is a new topic for you. I can tell that this is a new concept. You might have questions. What are they?
That's funny, dude. That was hilarious. So another thing, man, that I wanted to dive into is that I believe this has just from reading the post that I read about it, I genuinely believe that this has a lot. This plays a big part in terms of who you are today, and it's your Aunt Cindy.
Yes.
When I read that post and I seen that, in all honesty, dude, I think death is something that is hard for a lot of people to accept, and it's obvious reasons why. But it seemed like, dude, this was a very positive influence in your life, and like I said, a direct correlation into who you are today. And if you're able to like dive into a little bit more about her and who she was.
Absolutely. What an incredible human being she was. For me in my life, she shaped my way of thinking around you can be, do, and have anything you want. My aunt was the most giving person that I ever knew. She always wanted me to know that she was proud of me. She didn't have any children of her own, so
I seen that.
she loved to spoil me and my cousins and things like that. Gosh, what do I even say about her? I mean, yeah, she's just an incredible person. She's a huge part of who I am. I spent summers at a time with her.
You said that she always encouraged you to be your weird self.
Yeah.
And I think that's very important for a lot of other people too, who aren't necessarily comfortable with being themselves because they feel that they might be perceived a little weird. I think it's that right there, I believe, from someone that means so much to you in your life at that young of an age. I believe her encouraging you to be your weird self is 1,000%, I think, like what more than half the world should be doing with their own people and their own children, because it makes a genuine difference. Like the way you flourish after hearing something like that from someone that means so much to you is insane.
Yeah, when I started, so obviously I spent my whole childhood with her. And then after I got old enough and I kind of became a teenager and I got my license and I was kind of out doing my own thing, choosing my friends, all of this stuff, we kind of grew apart. Like physically, we've always loved and we've had a great soul connection. But anytime I would catch up with her, I was always so excited to share my developments, the things that I had learned, the books that I had read, the lessons, all of these things, and I would share them with her. And she would be like, Ryan, from such a young age, I knew that you were going to be like a sage. Like, you are here to impact the world. My God. She would just say all these amazing things and just encourage me to be the best version of myself and to let my talents shine through. And what a great role model that was. That is just an invaluable, I wouldn't even say a debt of gratitude, but just an invaluable piece of gratitude that I forever owe her.
Like that you got to exist at the same time she did.
Yeah. And you know what's crazy? So I told you early on that I'm very psychic, and I don't necessarily like advertise or call myself a psychic or anything like that, just because of kind of the stigma that goes along with it.
I was going to mention that, yeah. Is it because it's how it's perceived?
Yeah. However, it's just, I now just kind of utilize that as a tool in my toolbox. And so what's really crazy is she was sick for a long time before she passed away, but...
Do you mind me asking what it was?
Oh, a combination of things. I mean, for as long as I've ever can remember, she's had arthritis and fibromyalgia. And then as she got older, I mean, I think she was like 70 when she passed away. So she was, yeah, she had lived a longer life. But it was just a combination of all of those things over time that compounded and just got worse and worse until it took her. But she was sick and kind of in a hospital bed for a long time, and even unconscious. Like, she had a few strokes in the hospital and things like that. And what was really crazy is during that time that she was kind of what I consider on the brink of life or death, she was coming to me psychically so much in my meditations.
And she's still here. She was still here, like on Earth?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, wow.
And so she would share these messages with me and just remind me like how proud she is and all of these things. And so anyway, she is now physically passed, and to this day, she is my guardian angel.
Yeah.
And she guides me, and her voice is in my head all the time.
So to add on to that, man, which is honestly, I can relate a lot to that, like to that same kind of person in my life with my grandmother. And my grandmother is no longer here anymore as well. She passed away in 2011, which was a pretty big, it was a pretty big deal for our entire family, because it ultimately shifted the entire family in different ways. Like, it was almost like she was like the glue that held everything together. And then when she left, everyone just kind of, you know, life happened even more, and everyone just kind of like went their own ways, and, you know, things got ugly at certain times and stuff like that. And everything, I'd like to think, is in a much better place now, but it's still not the same as what it once was when she was here. And I see a lot of people that are my age now, like 26 years old, where they'll still have their grandmothers in their life and their grandfathers. I lost my grandfather before I lost my grandmother. And I always wonder what that's like sometimes. Like, there's a lot of moments, man, where I've been in, like, I brought myself to tears thinking about, like, how much I wish she could have met my girlfriend, how much she would have loved her, how much I wish she could have seen what my life has been like, and just certain things I want to ask her and my grandfather, man, like, just kind of pick their brains about life and just, like,
Ask and meditate.
Yeah.
And it'll come to you.
oh, wow, okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh my gosh. Your grandmother is still around.
Oh, no, I 1,000% believe it, dude, because in all honesty, during times where have been, like, very, very, very tough for me, there's times where I've prayed, and in all honesty, I find this, like, real, like, mental sense of, like, clarity afterwards, and I just kind of genuinely believe, like, that's her and God, like, kind of just working in the ways that they're supposed to. And it was tough, you know, like I talked about, man, like, death is something that's very hard for a lot of people to accept, and it's honestly kind of wild to think that, like, one day me and you also won't be here. Like, that I still can't. It's crazy because they talk about, like, I've heard this one song before. It's a friend's song of mine, actually, believe it or not. He talks about how, like, man, this life feels so, he's like, man, like, you're pretty much counting your days, but this life feels so long at the same time. Like, you're saying, like, the life is so short, but at the same time it feels so long. And there's a bunch of like Mac Miller songs I've heard where it's like everyone feels like they could live forever until, you know, everyone you think you're invincible until you're not, until you have like those like awakening moments. And just like your aunt, my grandmother was also in and out of the hospital for a very long time, and I've seen a bunch of like her just medical like history and stuff. Like it would just kind of slowly, gradually like just going down, and yeah, man, it was hard, dude. And honestly, I like to think like they give me a lot of motivation in terms of like being confident in myself, because man, she was such a sweet lady, dude, and she had a lot of bad things happen to her. For as sweet as she was and as nice of a person that she was, man, she had a lot of stuff happen to her. And I always kind of questioned certain things as to like, man, why did that happen to like this woman of all people? You know what I mean? But I also think that since those things happened to her, it made her who she was.
Absolutely.
It 100% made her who she was, and in return, it made my mom the person that she was, and what my mom was able to kind of give to us and stuff. I honestly, genuinely believe the way I am, as far as like me being a very empathetic person and just understanding and caring person and loving person, I believe that's all from my mom and my grandmother because of how they are as human beings, and it's taught me so much. And I love being able to give like people love. I love being able to let someone know that they're technical difficulties. But I love being able to do that for people. I love being able to see the light in people's eyes when I tell them, dude, you're fucking smart. You're awesome. You are like, bro, you're so cool. Like, you know what I mean? I love being able to tell that and see them kind of light up, because sometimes you can kind of tell like when some people haven't heard that much in their life. And I think it's very important to tell the people that you care about like what they mean to you right now, instead of when it's too late and they're not here no more, or just letting a small argument like distance y'all's relationship. Like I don't truly believe like there's any, you have family, y'all argue and stuff, but I don't truly believe that there's anything that my family could ever really do to get me to not care about them no more. Like I think I'll always care, because that's just kind of who I am.
Sure.
But so we're at that time, man. But Ryan, I want to thank you so much, bro, for coming. I honestly look forward to this entire week. It was a very long week of work. It was a very crazy and hectic week of work. And throughout that entire time, I had you in the back of my head and envisioned this entire thing, dude. And was like, this is what I'm working towards. Like this whole week, me staying late, me working 10, 12, 14-hour days, I'm like, this is what I'm working for right now. This is what I have to do. I have to get through this week, because I wasn't making an excuse for myself as to why we couldn't do this. You know what I mean?
I'm so glad.
Honestly, so yeah, dude, 100%. Thank you so much for your time, man.
If I may, I want to leave with 3 things for our audience.
Okay.
Okay. 1 is you are more powerful than you give yourself credit for. 2, forgiveness goes 2 ways. I forgive you. Please forgive me too. And forgiveness is for you. It is not for anyone else. Forgiveness is for you.
I love that. Man, well, thank y'all guys for tuning in on this episode. This is Ryan Garant. I'll put his Instagram handle inside of the the description. And man, there's another question I wish I could have asked you, but honestly, dude, I would love to have you back.
We'll have to do this plenty more.
Yeah, dude, it was awesome and very, very good for me personally, and I hope some of y'all. Thank y'all for tuning in, man. This is the Conference Podcast. I'm Johnny G. This is Ryan Garant, and y'all have a great day.
Take it easy.